This is Ali Vogel from Flexi Design, and today we are here on Flexible Design with a very special guest. So, Michael, please go ahead and introduce yourself for the audience.
I'm Michael. I'm a director of product at Unframe, where my team and I build custom generative AI solutions for large B2B enterprise customers. My background is both in engineering and business degrees that I started and studied in France and the UK. I began my career in a strategy consultant in Paris, where I worked on strategy projects for European corporations. I then was very interested in the tech industry and I joined the tech ecosystem, directly working for a founder and CEO of a travel tech startup in Paris. I worked there on the product side of things and evolved within the company as the company expanded. I evolved and led a team of 30 people and led the international expansion of the company in Europe. Then I decided to start my AI journey. I did a 6 months data science bootcamp, studied machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, natural language processing. And then I returned to product, which was what I love to do and what's really excited for me. So I joined AppsFlyer, worked there for a few years as a product manager, and then fast forward around a year ago, I got very excited in the GenAI space. I think there's a lot of things happening. I decided to be at the center of it, and I joined Unframe, which was just being started as a startup. I joined as the first product manager. And now it's been quite a journey. I think in a year, we already raised seed and Series A from top tier investors and keep scaling and building AI products there.
So, what was that like for you, having gone from one of the leaders in the market to going to this tiny seed stage startup and joining as the first product manager?
I think the main thing is about adapting to a different company culture. I would say when you're in AppsFlyer, everything is really well processed. We're talking about 2,000 employee companies across different countries. When you're working on products, everything is super organized with quarterly plannings or roadmaps that are even a year or 2 year ahead. You're looking forward. Whereas when you join a 6 months old startup, it's a very different story. Culture wise, it's a lot about the delivery side of things. Obviously, you're getting a lot of different prospects and you're like very sales oriented at the beginning. If you're working on the product side, specifically in Unframe, where we're building custom AI solutions for these enterprise customers. So the PMs are very client facing to understand the business problem where the clients are trying to solve and then find the right solution to build for them. There, in terms of culture, it's moving from this way more strategic approach at first, where into more delivery mode, where it's very fast paced and it's just about delivery, and then still finding some time to also take a step back and say, are we going the right direction? Where is the market going? Keeping some time to understand what are the latest Gen AI trends that we need to keep.
Tell me a little bit more about Unframe. You've raised money from top tier VCs, and yet it sounds like there's a big service component to the work that you do because you are building custom solutions. So give us a bit more of a background on how Unframe came to be, what problem you guys are solving, and what you're building today.
We're a product factory. We are Our approach in the end is very, you can say it's service oriented, right? You come to specific customers, you understand their business problem, you understand which solution to build for them. We co-design the solution with them, and then you actually implement it and build it production grade within their own workflows. The thing is, we do that in the span of a week or two. I think that's the big difference between Unframe and what you would say is more a classical services consulting company, where if you had to do this whole process, it will take you a month, 3, 6, 9 months, depending on the complexity of the project. And how we're able to do that is internally we build the technology to be able to integrate faster, to build solutions faster, thanks to generative AI technology. So this is what we're doing and how we're a bit like positioned in between this services type of company and the classical product side of things. I think that goes with a general trend that we see in the market, right? Like building products is going to be faster. I would say clients are also expecting for companies to deliver faster as well.
This is really fascinating because you guys are taking this approach where all of these new tools that are coming out and you are actually building and shipping it to enterprise grade products internally. How do you guys think about scalability and building your own products in-house? Is that something that's come up? And if so, how are you thinking about that in terms of strategy?
So it is definitely part of the strategy. Think of it that every time we come to a customer and we understand and we're building these custom AI solutions for them, the more solutions we build, the more we identify repeatable solutions, either across markets, because it's functional solutions that you're providing for sales or operations or marketing, and then that's more horizontal, or more vertical oriented solution where you're working in the real estate space and you build a specific workflow around real estate leases or contracts. But this is just the first of many of the products we have in the pipeline. So what we do is like based on all of our experience in the different projects in parallel, we're building all of these more generic solutions that we then in any case customize to the customers. But the customization speed is getting faster and faster based on the number of projects we build in the end. Like we keep building the technical blocks so that the next project is going to be easier. And I think that that's where we have this very virtuous cycle within Unframe, where the more we scale, the more it's going to be easy to scale.
Can you give me an example of a project that you worked on throughout your time at Unframe? You solved a very specific problem and it just blew your mind in terms of how no one had been doing something like this before. So tell me about like the craziest, most innovative, or most exciting to you problem that you've solved for one of your customers.
So I have one technology wise, it was a very big challenge. And I think the value that it provides is very, very strong. We work for a private equity customer, very large private equity with hundreds of companies in the portfolio. Think of it that the private equity that has hundreds of companies receive reporting from all of these companies every month, every quarter. You're talking about huge business plans in Excel. You're talking about 100 pages PowerPoint reports of business trends, what has been done versus forecast, etc. And what they came to us with a problem and say, okay, I have all of that. Our AI should be able somehow to ingest all of that and analyze it and then warn us and do the analysis as if they were like an actual private equity analyst, financial analyst, and look at deviations for forecast, things that didn't happen as expected, and then just have a more of a warning system where you could just get the information straight away instead of going and having for a lot of different analysts to go through all of these files and analyze them and extract the information. So we started with a subset of like 10 companies, a lot of different reports from these 10 companies. And then we built an AI that is able to actually extract the information from all of the Excels. And we focused on a few analyses that an analyst would do. They will replicate with agentic solutions that go through the data and identify different trends. And this is how we started. And now we're at the stage where like they're very happy, they're paying, and then they want to scale in the number of analysis, build a dedicated user experience for their financial analysts, chat on the data. So this is a super interesting project.
You said that you're dedicating or you're designing these dedicated user experiences to the client and layering on top chat experiences and types of product design that we normally see in something that's user facing. Whereas it sounds like a lot of the solutions that you guys are used to building have a huge back end component. How do you think about user experience design as a deeply technical product director?
I think there's different type of user experiences here where I think we need to separate, for example, adding a chat experience. It's going to be its own, space within the product where you have a dedicated chat experience. But this is just a piece of the solution. And I think that's where Unframe is kind of winning, is that we don't come with like, we're an expert in chats or we're an expert in, abstracting information from financial documents. We're building the future workflow that your teams will use. And we'll build all of these different experiences and kind of build an overall user experience that makes sense for your financial analyst to go through it. I think one of the things we're seeing, even like not only in this project, is that there's different type of AI solutions that are being built. There's these AI solutions which are chat plus different pieces. That's actual solutions. The other one is the agentic workflows, which is something happens, some event is triggered, and then you have a chain of LLM commands that go through it, and then provides with the answer based on all this analysis that happens. And then you have the fully agentic autonomous workflows where you put an agent on top of your mailbox and you have a lot of inquiries from your customers. And the agent is literally, you let him answer to your customer. And there, in terms of user experience, what we're seeing is in the end, like there is a lot of the human in the loop that keeps coming up where most of our customers in most of the use cases are building something that's not going to replace fully the teams, but are thinking of how can I make them 8 times more efficient and keep them in the loop based on the elements that the AI is providing. I think this field is still, very nascent at the moment, but I think this is something where you like UX designers are gonna have to be excelling very soon because the demand for that is pretty high.
So tell me who's on your team today when you go into a customer like the private equity firm that you mentioned, who would be on a project like that?
It's our AI product managers. So I have a team of different AI PMs, and each of them would have a specific subset of use cases. This is how we work. So on top of having everyone having potentially 1, 2, 3 customers, that you would also have a scope in the end of how many use cases you do for that customer. So you don't do just one project per customer, you could do multiple ones. And then in the team, you can either be building proof of concept where the client is not sure yet. He thinks this is going to be a good, a good project to work on, but he wants to see the value before paying, things like this. So that's one kind of work that the team would be doing. Another type of work is, okay, like now they're paying, they want to be building the full solution. And then we have also already, for the oldest customers that already started with us some time ago, it's like we already finalized the solution, but they see that their users are adopting across different geographies, and they keep having, kind of a roadmap of feature improvements that need to be built. So the work that is being done by this AI product manager team is pretty diverse because we're talking about more classical product management where you have a roadmap and you build features on top of an existing AI solution, but also building draft POCs or building actual in production solutions. We're seeing a lot of value in having the PMs doing that because they have this product mindset that is very useful in each piece of the work that's being done.
Right. And it sounds like they're also technical product managers such as yourself that have that technical background in AI. And then you go to the customer with that product mindset and you're actually able to build in that way. It's interesting to hear because you don't have designers on your team. So what was the decision for not bringing on individuals with this level of expertise in UX, UI?
So here I would separate in two, where I would say the actually building the solutions and the improvement of solutions over time. In the building the actual solutions, we see a lot of value in keeping the product, like the PM, leading that part, also leading the user experience. To be honest, the main approach we have is that we are working on classical product specification with all of the LLMs as the copilots, either Claude or Grok or ChatGPT. Once we have that defined, then we most of the time try to test in Lovable, to test in V0, to test in other like base 44. So what we do is then we're like, okay, let's give a draft of like, this is the PRD. What would be a good experience? And then we have a lot of like UX sensitivity also in the product managers we're taking in. So they are able to kind of iterate with what would be a pretty good first version of the solution on the UX design. There's a bit of friction point in the UX, and that's where we need the expertise of the UX designer. So now we're bringing on a UX designer, but we didn't kind of need that expertise yet as we were building all of these first versions of the products.
I see this as a trend in the industry, which is really cool and also a huge challenge for the design industry as a whole, but in a good way. There's a VP of design at Wise who made this viral comment on LinkedIn, and he said that AI is going to make great designers better and bad designers faster. And this is something I've seen a lot because the amount of people that have come to me and people love to show me their little hack project. Like, look at this website I built. Look at this POC I built. Isn't this amazing? And they'll show it to me and I'm like, I'm so glad that
Not
you felt
really.
empowered. I'm so glad you felt empowered to build this. But if you're thinking about companies that have great design work, still we're not at the point yet where there isn't that level of human intervention that needs to be had. And something I keep hearing from my guests over and over is that AI is that power tool that allows you to be 10x, but taste is still moat, taste and judgment, which isn't necessarily something that AI has the level of craft yet to be able to do. You know, we could see something very different in 6 months from now, and in 2 years from now, and 6 years from now. Everything's
Yeah,
evolving
for
so
sure.
quickly that this might change. But at least where we are today, we're not quite there yet. And this is where designers have become these orchestrators of being able to really input understanding the user problems like you do as a PM, being able to have that level of craft and finesse that you can use any one of these tools to build a base, but ultimately it will stay as a POC and not become, let's call it like enterprise ready, if this is a product you're selling to customers at the end of the day, unless you have that layer of craft, which doesn't necessarily have to come to it from a designer, but oftentimes does. So this complement of different roles is something that in product companies we've been seeing happening forever. But now, because of the technological advancements we're seeing in AI, it's really, and forgive this cliche, democratizing the way that people are able to build today, right? Designers are able to build POCs, PMs are able to build great user experience flows. Personally, I think that this is something that your customers are going to see a lot of value for, especially if you are building tools or products for them that they will ultimately go to market with.
Exactly. And I think you're making a really good point that I'm also seeing in the pure product management space as well. In the end, this separation of like an excellent PM versus a standard PM. When they're using AI, the standard PM would just be faster. They'll just say, okay, this is what I want, give me the PRD, right? Where the approach I'm trying to teach my team to do is like, go and think what you would be doing and then ask AI what they would have done and then challenge yourself. And that's like a very different approach. I think a lot of people now are like trying to put their brain off and let the AI do the work for them. However, that's really not the right approach, I believe, because you just get to mediocrity and standardize mediocrity. So it goes also with this idea also on the UX side where we get there of like 80% of the UX is going to be not that bad today without a designer, but the value of this going from 80% to 100 is actually where the product adoption starts. But to your point on the merging of the roles, I think that's where the future is gonna go. And that's like maybe a wider topic to open, right? We have today product managers, UX designers, developers, but developers can now code way faster, so they're doing a bit more UX. UX designers are able to code because they have Lovable and they're able to iterate and they don't need to code anymore. It's just no code, right? And then PMs are a bit in the middle and they can just start building products, but they're not going to be the best products. So I feel the future is we all need to start learning the skills of the other. It's getting easier for everyone to do part of the job of the others, but it's not roles we've been working in. So I think that's what everyone should be focusing is to grow their skills across the board. And it's very demanding, but I think the market is going to be like this very soon.
It's interesting you say that because I think in large, there's been push from really innovative companies to already go in that direction. So think about Airbnb. Airbnb has been adamantly against having product managers for a long time. And their
Yes.
philosophy is that we're design first, and designers are also product managers and should be able to manage workflows and write PRDs. And then you have a company like a software company based in the Bay Area that we've worked with in different capacities, and they don't believe in having designers. They have no designers on their team. It's only product managers, and their product managers are very design focused. So when we worked with them, we actually worked with them on teaching their product managers best practices in UX design because they wanted their product management team to be empowered with those design skill sets to the point that their product managers were building in Figma. So this is something that we're already seeing. And some people might think this is crazy. Oh, no product managers. How does any order get done? Oh, no designers. The product must look terrible. But I'm seeing this more and more. And you might as well because you also work in client services. So you're working with these organizations that are actually starting to rethink a lot of these roles. And this idea of product builder, and I love that term because essentially that's what it is. And I think that's what a lot of builders kind of already self-identify as, is people that can wear multiple hats across different skill sets, who can be curious, who can tinker, who can fill in gaps when they don't necessarily have the skill set. And this is something that we're seeing more and more, and AI is just pushing us there faster. So with that, I want to kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about the business side of things, because you had mentioned that was a big part of your role when you first started at Unframed. So what you guys are doing is super interesting, and I'm sure it's something that a lot of consultancies in the field are thinking about. So how do you differentiate yourself, and how do you compete in this type of landscape?
First of all, the time to value, because we have this ability to build faster over time, we're able to provide also price points that are lower than an actual 6 months project of mine, because we're able to build this in a few weeks. So why would we need to actually make the client pay for so much to get the AI solution? We're able to deliver very quickly. We're able to price the solutions cheaper than actual AI consultancies.
Let's talk about reputation for a second, because I think this is something that whenever you're building a brand, whether you're building a service business or you're building a product, the brand itself and the reputation carries so much weight. As a new company like Unframe, regardless if you're backed by really reputable investors and you have employees, directors with pedigrees such as yours, Michael, there's still this element of building the brand. So how have you thought about your brand building at Unframed, and how have you seen that evolve since the time that you've joined?
I think there is two main components that makes the trust. The first one is we are being very successful, scaling very fast. We did a series like the seed and series A of $50 million raised by top tier VCs, Bessemer Ventures and TLB partners and others. That already kind of helps secure the solidity of the company and explain, to these enterprise customers, we're here to stay. This is working really well. It's a model that works. So you can trust us. But additionally, especially at the beginning, I would say, we did a lot of projects where we will just like, tell me the use case. We're going to actually build it for free, prove the value of the use case together. And once you're happy and satisfied of this production ready product that we built for you, you're going to pay for it. And that obviously, when you're on the client side, you're like, okay, there is no risk there, right? So it's a bit out of the box to think about it. Like we priced in a way like, okay, you can try that POC and it's gonna be we're gonna do this POC and proof of value for free. At the same time, because the effort to actually build this remains, not a 6 months project, we're able to make that investment. And we're doing that when once we identify the client is serious about the use case, the client is already ready to put investment of his teams, giving us access to the data. So there is in any case an investment, even if it's not a monetary investment from the client side. So I think this is the second point where we're like giving the proof of value before we get into financial discussion.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And definitely having a nice venture backed round behind you can definitely help accelerate that and allow you to do that. Tell me a little bit about the tools that you guys are currently using. So you had mentioned Base 44, V0, Lovable, which are the ones that we all kind of know and love. Is there anything else that you are currently using in your workflow or that you're curious about or tinkering with that has been top of mind for you and your team?
I would say one of the things I'm experimenting a lot with, and I'm asking also the team to experiment with, is integrating with the different MCPs. It's still, there is some hype, but we are like, for example, I connected Notion and Linear and Gmail and my calendar and everything. And then I connect that with Claude. Claude is pretty good with integrations with MCPs. And I just also tell it, okay, go in Notion and extract from the last discussions we had with customers based on that other project, pull that information. So I think I'm using the MCPs more for like context engineering, which is also another topic that is something that a lot of people are thinking of. How do you get the right context at the right time? So even in my personal workflow, I'm trying to be conscious of how can I centralize my data, my information, my projects, my way to work, my way to communicate internally, which I'm doing mostly in Notion at the moment, but I'm thinking potentially to move later on to Cursor. But for now, I haven't played with that part yet. But this is something that we're trying to play with within the team, and we're sharing every couple of weeks. We do a small session, and we try to kind of share best practices or whatever cool thing we found on how we can improve our workflow, which is I think also a pretty nice thing we're doing.
To your point, the tools are changing so rapidly, and new and better and greater are coming out. Not even a matter of quarters anymore, but a matter of months and a matter of weeks. And I
Weeks.
think that that's something that is exciting when you're a builder, is you have the opportunity to tinker and to play with these different things as they come out, and basically recreate your workflow as you find new and better tooling to do so, which really brings me to the point about craft and about understanding how to build and how to think about these workflows, and understanding how taste is that moat. We see this a lot in the design world where anyone, even pre AI, anyone could kind of build with Figma and take templates, and it really democratized the way people designed. And now there's AI and non-designers can now design. But one of the biggest things I've seen is those that don't have the foundation, that don't understand at the core what they're building and just use tools instead of having that, let's call it education, because education comes in a lot of different ways. You see that there's a big gap between what's really tight and what's, let's call it, like market ready, as opposed to like, oh, hey, I built this screen, I built this product, and it
Yeah, it's
just
not there yet.
it doesn't have the same level of fidelity. So what are some of the things that you look for in, let's call it education in quotes, or in craft, when you are interviewing product managers from your team?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the classical way of hiring PMs should definitely evolve, especially in our company. We're looking at ideally profiles that already built some GenAI based solutions. So they're already familiar with the actual building of the aspect. But also I'm looking for the curiosity, and I'm looking for potentially having them sharing that they did a side project and they did it with Lovable and they're gonna build, or with V0 whatever, and they published it. Even if they have 100 users, that's not the question, because then you can discuss about it. It's like, what's the process? Why did you use that? What are the other tools? So I think there the curiosity and the willingness to grow, because this sector is so dynamic. If I have a discussions about the different models, I want to be able to say, okay, where do you think you should use that model or that model for this type of problem? So this is the kind of things we're asking for, because that shows how much they're aware and on top of the latest trends, because that's a critical point for staying ahead, and that's what we're looking for.
I couldn't agree more. So as we close out this conversation, tell us the one the one thing within the current AI world, AI technological world that you're in today that excites you the most.
The one thing that excites me the most is the fact that nothing is defined forever at this stage, and I think that the fact that we have to adapt all the time is what makes it exciting. I think the fact that I have to, wake up and make sure I get like my core newsletters about the latest tools and latest trends and latest moves from Google and OpenAI. Because if not, then we will be out of business in 1 year. We need to keep learning and we need to adapt, to keep adapting.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing all your insights about your background, about Unframe AI. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, what is the best way to do so?
I would say they can just write me on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest one. I would reply the most.
Perfect, perfect. Michael, thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Ali, for having me.